I've been involved in coaching and mentoring people for professional development and growth for a number of years. And I just finished a session that ran for a couple of years actually with someone who came up within an organization I was leading as a lead. Very good person. Good person from a character standpoint as well as ability. And they're now an IT director with a pretty large organization on their own. But we just worked through a session for a couple of years where he was really being harassed and bullied by his boss and some of his own peers that reported into his boss as well. His name is Tim. He's okay if I use his first name, and he's okay if I use some of his examples. And if you've clicked on this video, it's probably because you're stressed out and you're trying to figure out, how do I deal with my boss or other people who I'm working with who are bullying me. And I'm going to ask you to at least hang in for this session if you are going through that, because I want to help you. If you're looking at this because you may be thinking you're bullying somebody, I'm going to really ask you to hang on so that you can do some self-reflecting. But I'm going to put that to the side for now. Anyway, the intent of this is to be a series, and I want to give you real life strategies based on real experience, my own and other people that I've worked with. So this first session, and I'll try to keep them bite-sized as I publish them, but this first session I'm just going to cover what this is and what it is not. It's important to understand what I'm not going to cover so you don't go down that path, and so that you're not misunderstanding the advice I'm giving. I'm going to cover who gets attacked, who's the target of bullying typically, and then the four types of workplace boss bullies. Maybe more than just your boss, but I'll focus on those four. So what's in this series? Strategies to help you identify your workplace bully. Are you being bullied? Are you not? You know, you may be thinking you're bullied. Hopefully, I'll help you understand and be positive one way or the other. And then strategies on how to handle those different types of bosses that are bullying you. It may be that the boss is deploying, and it probably is, different kinds of tactics. So there's different strategies to handle those different tactics, and we'll go through them. Real life experience. And then strategies to help you maintain your self-esteem, your personal development, and your confidence. That is super important, and I'm going to repeat that over and over again. Nothing should get in the way of your self-development, your self-esteem, and your confidence. You're entitled to those things. Nobody is allowed to take those things away from you. And I think this is pretty important. Strategies on how to deal with human resources. Human resources, two things about human resources. One is they don't work for you. They're not your advocate. They're not your lawyer. They work for the company. They're there to keep the employee pool productive. That's really what they're there for, and to protect the company. They may help you if it aligns with the company goals. If not, they may be detrimental to what you're looking for. And a lot of times that happens. The other thing is they're humans. They are humans themselves. So it takes all kinds. Some are good, some are bad. Some are good at what they do. Some are very bad at what they do. And just like in any other department throughout the company, you're going to have very good ethically strong, morally strong people with great character, and then you're going to have other people that are racists. You're going to have other people that are sexist. So you've got a mixed bag in human resources. It's just good to understand that, and don't expect too much from them. They're humans. And strategies, after you've dealt with all that, what do you want to do? It's your life, and nothing should get in the way of your life, and you should never lose sight of that. So you should have next steps on where you're going to go. Even though right now, if you're getting bullied, you may seem like you're in a hole, and you may even seem that you're not entitled to a next step. Maybe your bully's taking you down that path. That's not true. You're entitled to your life. You're entitled to be successful. You're entitled to your self-esteem, and I want to help you get there. So all this is going to be based on real life experience, a lot from me and a lot from the people I've worked with that are okay with me sharing. So what is this not? And this is very important. And I'm taking time during this first session to go over this because of it. This isn't legal advice. I can't give legal advice. I don't have the knowledge. I've been through a lot of training. My background is as an IT director, so I've been through a lot of management training. I've built organizations, managed large and small organizations, and so I've got some expertise and knowledge, but I will not be giving legal advice. So please don't take anything as that. It's also not healthcare advice. If you're getting bullied, it's going to affect you mentally and physically. It's going to affect you mentally and physically. It may affect you profoundly mentally and physically. If that's the case, you need to seek help. One way to do that, I mean, you can certainly go to your doctor, and if you have other healthcare professionals, you can do that. Most companies offer some sort of employee assistance program where you can confidentially go and you get free sessions with people to work through issues. And maybe you want to take a couple of the ideas that I share and bounce off of them as well. That would be a good place. And then, very importantly, this is not about workplace violence, workplace sexual harassment, or discrimination. Those things are very serious, and you need to seek counsel for that. And what I will really ask you to do, if you're a victim of those things, I would ask you to seek legal help. Ensure that you have read your employee handbook and you know the process to report issues and you know your obligations, and then report that to HR. I'll cover that in a later session in dealing with HR. But if violence, sexual harassment, discrimination, things of that nature, you need to report them to HR. You need to make sure when you do that that you're following their process and that you've done everything you're supposed to. There are also times you're going to want to seek out legal counsel and maybe even law enforcement. So that is not what is going to be covered in here. If you are going through those things, I would really encourage you to seek out legal counsel. In some cases, you may want to reach out to the Department of Labor, that kind of thing. Okay, I want to jump into the session now. Who is being attacked? Who's being targeted? These statistics are pretty common. They're pretty widely accepted. I'm not going to go through them all. You can see them while I'm sharing this. It is 60 million Americans are being affected at one time. If you think about the size of the United States, 300 plus million people, the workforce is a subset of that. 60 million is a pretty high percentage. It's a good reason for that. So if you think you're being bullied, you're definitely not alone. Not at all. It's fairly common. So please take heart in that. Also, the one stat I want to call out is the bottom one. 71% of employer reactions are harmful to the workplace targets of bully behavior. That is the reason why I spent time just before talking about HR, and I'm going to dedicate a full session to dealing with HR later. The way you deal with your boss and the way you deal with HR is incredibly important. Most of the time, whether they mean to be harmful or not, what they do is going to harm you one way or the other. It's going to put you in a bad position because they're looking to do, number one, their job, which is to protect the company. So keep that in mind. So in terms of who's targeted, who's attacked, I'm here to tell you, everybody is. I don't know a single person who's worked for any length of time who has not been a target of workplace bullying and harassment in one form or another. Sometimes it is very maniacal. And, as I mentioned before, this person, Tim, my friend, my colleague who I've worked with for years, it was a very maniacal situation where over years he was harassed. It could be that kind of situation, and he is suffering PTSD right now. There are after effects of the bullying that he has gone through. It could also be a little less than that. I know somebody who took a job, and when they took a job, the company wanted them because they were very successful, and they took a job into an area that they weren't familiar with. They were promised a budget, they were promised training, and they were promised a team. They didn't get any of those things, and then they were pushed on their performance every day to deliver. That's another form of bullying. So it could be any one of those things and many others. So everyone does get bullied, and the people who get bullied are top performers. Now I'll tell you why. If you're not a top performer, there are ways for managers to deal with that, and they're above board, and they're the right way to deal with it. If you have somebody who's not performing to the level of their job, you put them on a development plan, and there's no shame in it. There's no harm in that. You're identifying where they need to improve, and you're giving them a plan. Now it may be tough, may be difficult for them to deliver on that. It depends, but there's no shame and there's no harassing in it. It's just, hey, you've got to deliver this. It's fair, it's meeting expectations, and if the person does not deliver, if they're not able to meet the performance, it really is no harm no foul, but it's not a good fit. So that isn't harassment. So the reason why top performers are targeted is because the manager, the supervisor, cannot put them on a performance plan because they perform. They're probably better at their jobs than the boss is. So it's a way of their boss controlling them and maybe even getting them to leave or just hang their head low and come in and be controlled every day. So keep that in mind. If you are being bullied, look in the mirror. Keep your self-esteem, keep your chin up, because you're getting harassed because you are a performer and somebody's trying to control you. It's their issue, not yours, but you have to deal with it. So I do want to, the last thing here for this session is I do want to cover the 4 types of boss bullies. And Dr. Gary Namey and his wife Ruth, I think, did a very good job in categorizing them. Now, there are many, many types of bullying and many different types of strategies. They tried to boil it down into 4 groups. Now, all of them are about the bully trying to control the target. So that's what it's about. It's a deficiency on the bully's part, and they're trying to control the target, who's probably a performer, into either behaving the way they want to or not overshadowing them. They will cross, typically a bully will cross these types. They'll use many tactics, and it won't just be one single type. So you need to be able to have strategies to deal with whatever they're going to throw at you as best as you can. And they'll switch their tactics midstream. And I'll say this again, bullying is real. It is very cruel. There's no place anywhere for bullying. And it will leave people with PTSD, sometimes very profoundly. So the 4 types that Dr. Namey defined, and I really like the way he did this, is number 1, the screamer. It's the rarest form because it's someone who's going to yell and berate somebody in public. Typically, bullies don't want to do that because then they have to defend what they did. Somebody could report them. So unless they really have good control over the group that they're going to yell at you in front of, they're probably not going to use this tactic, but they may use it, and they may use it to intimidate the whole group as well. So that's the first group. The next is a particularly maniacal type of bully, the constant critic. This is a more one-on-one. Now they take it behind closed doors so that they can avoid being caught. They can maintain their deniability. If you report them and it's a one-on-one situation and there's no witness or record of it, they could just say, well, they're not performing and they're whining. And that's their tactic, and you need a strategy on how to deal with that. They'll typically misuse the performance appraisal system, so they'll give you goals that they'll either move the goalposts, or they'll give you a goal that's more difficult to deal with than other people's. And a lot of times it's a new supervisor working with a more experienced, maybe a subject matter expert, who they'll bully and they'll try to control. So, and that is the whole thing, is that they're trying to control you, they're targeting you, and they're trying to brand you as an incompetent for whatever their end goal is. Then there's the two-headed snake. They're going to hug you. They're going to hug you. They're going to tell you they're your ally, they're your supporter, they're your friend. Then they're going to stab you in the back. They're going to have rumors about you behind your back. They're going to try to control your reputation. So even if you move, there's going to be a shadow hanging over you. And while they're doing it, to your face, they're going to try to portray as if they're your friend. Then there's the gatekeeper. I think this is the most common and most effective bully uh, type that I've seen. And it may not be your boss. It could be their admin. It could be a peer of yours or another leader within the organization. But the main thing that they do is they withhold resources. They may set deadlines for you that are unreasonable, where everyone else has reasonable deadlines and yours is something you just can't deliver. It could be that they withhold the ability for you to work with others, to collaborate with others, to get things done cross-functionally, and to get information. They may withhold that information from you. And as I mentioned before, they may deny you training, they may deny you a budget, and they may deny you resources to work with, whether it's on your team or, as I said, cross-functionally. So that gatekeeper is probably the most common that I've encountered, and it's extremely effective. So as I kind of conclude this one quick session, bullies definitely are real. If you feel like you're being bullied, you probably are. And it's good to recognize it, and I'm glad you're listening to this, because you need to address it, because they can inflict incredible damage on your health, on your mental health, and on your family, let alone your career. Bullies tend to be control freaks for whatever reason. I won't get into the psychology of it, but they are trying to control the environment. It's very real. I've talked to people who dismiss bullying, who try to portray bullying as something that is not uh, pervasive in the workplace, and it is. As I showed you before, 60 million people at any one time are being bullied. It's extremely real, and even those people at some point have been a target. Maybe it wasn't that bad of harassment. You need to keep your confidence throughout, and some of the strategies I'm going to be talking about are going to be on how to do that. You need to maintain your own identity, your own self-esteem and confidence. Never let go of that, and nobody should ever tell you that you shouldn't feel confident, that you shouldn't feel like you've got a reason for your worth. And they will do that, and they're wrong. So my goal for this session was to help you to understand that bullying is real. I keep saying that because it is. And in case if you're doubting yourself or the situation that you're in, it is extremely real, and you're entitled to yourself, your confidence, your self-esteem, your self-development. You are entitled to move forward. You're also entitled to make mistakes. You're allowed to make mistakes. That's completely fine. Some mistakes are bigger than others. You're also accountable for your mistakes, but mistakes is how you learn, and you shouldn't feel that you're so restricted by the bully that you can't make a mistake. And if they're putting you in that situation, that is a form of harassment. So hopefully this helped you identify what a bully looks like, regardless of who it is. And I'm going to be posting more sessions with strategies on how to deal with each of these types of sessions. Hopefully you hung in there, and hopefully I'll be seeing you listen to the future sessions.